We're singing. We're singing. Dun, 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 dun. Time to talk. Beauty and the Bitch. Mick, are you so excited to hang out and talk about Game of Thrones?
Beauty.
Okay. Yes, and the bitch, but you and I, we're both of those, and we're going to just talk about this final season. There's so many feelings. How do you feel?
Beauty.
It's weird because it feels like you're really trying to communicate, but you're literally just saying the same word over and over again.
Oh, Morgan, you must have forgot because we decided we were going to do this bit where it's like a Hodor-esque bit, remember? And I figured, since Hodor says his name, I would say my name, which is Beauty, because I'm the beauty and you're the bitch.
So you just move a couple 100 miles away, you call a bitch, and you throw her straight under the bus. You know what? You can hold my door, if you know what I'm saying.
I think that might be sexual assault, and I think your husband would not be pleased.
I don't
think he would be pleased.
Murder. Doesn't it feel more like murder?
I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that door that I'm holding for you is wet. There's a wet door, and I'm tired of standing here.
Ooh, slippery and wet. I like it.
Oh my God. I think we regressed to 9th grade just now. Welcome back to another episode of Beauty and the Bitch. I'm Mick.
And I'm the beauty.
No, Morgan. What? You are Morgan. I'm the beauty. That was the point of the whole bit. Wow.
I'm just tired of living in your shadow because you're a giant, half giant, and you only say one word.
Well, I want you to know you are the wind beneath my balls, Morgan. I want you to know that, and I mean that.
That means a lot, honestly, coming from you.
I thought it would. So.
So, dear listeners, Mickey is coming to us live from Skype in his new home, temporary home, I guess I should say, while he gets some exciting things off the ground.
Yes, it's a cardboard box in a ditch, but the ditch is near a town that does have a Starbucks. So, which is, it's not all bad.
Basically all that matters, honestly. It's all we ever wanted.
Yeah. No, actually, I mean, genuinely, I am mildly homeless because I haven't closed on my 10 acres yet. But I will be closing on 10 acres in 4 days. So by the time people hear this, I will be landed gentry. And
straight up. You're basically any dude from Outlander now.
Yeah, I'm like every dude from Outlander pressed into one brain. So yeah, I'm also schizophrenic. But what? No problem? Do you say it's no problem? You're such a good friend.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're a good friend. Mm-hmm. So really, listeners, we're just hoping that this is somewhat clear. We're never that clear because we're fucking ridiculous, but we're hoping that you can at least understand the words that we're saying some of the time.
I hope so too. And I have to say, coming from a more sober perspective, I've only had 2 beers compared to the bottle of wine I've usually had when we embark on this journey.
I don't want to upset anybody, but I am stone cold sober.
Wow.
I know.
That's why it's hard for us to talk because we don't have a lot of relatable things outside of being drunk all the time.
Yeah, no, we're each other's party friends, obviously.
Yeah. So our friendship is crumbling as this podcast continues.
Yeah, by the end of it, the first blow was when it became obvious I was the beauty. I kind of knew that would kill the podcast eventually because you just can't handle it. You can't handle it, Morgan. It's weird. Sad.
This feels really off base from the way that I think and feel about the podcast. You know what I mean?
Well, I am schizophrenic, so who can say? I mean, really, I'm just doing my best over here.
Love it. Live for it.
Speaking of schizophrenic, though, really good. I think that's a really good segue into the topic that we're covering today.
Oh, the fucking plot line of every season of Game of Thrones culminating with this final season that was some things that happened.
Mm-hmm. Very confused and very not living in the same world that I live in some of the time and trailing off into nothingness apropos of nothing. Yeah.
Also like an anticlimactic buildup of moments that were foreshadowed, things that were going places and roads that just hit complete dead ends because there just simply wasn't enough time to tie those threads back together, and it leaves you feeling wanting, like that
Yeah.
there's just so much more to be told.
Yeah. Narrative blue balls. That's what they gave us. Narrative blue balls. And you know why we had narrative blue balls is because what's the name of the writer director team? DB Weiss? No, they wrote Charlotte's Web.
No,
Uh,
that's pretty close. It's
is it?
like they're both start with D. Dan Benioff, and I think it's DB Weiss. Is that not right?
Is that it? Oh my God. Who
It
wrote
feels
Charlotte's
right.
Web? Oh, I have to check now.
No,
E.B. Weiss.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? You know what the hardest thing is? Okay, I'm going to get right back to that. I know exactly where I'm at. But the hardest thing so far about doing this Skype recording is our timing is off because I think there's like a lag between us.
I'm sure.
Well, and that's really too bad because our comedic timing is obviously gold. I mean,
It's our strongest suit.
and according to some listeners, it's our only suit.
Hey, we'll take it. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody can't be good at everything. You know what I mean?
No, that's true. And some people are good at nothing, but we still love you, Morgan. Anyway.
Oh.
Anyway, so, but the reason that we have narrative blue balls is because, you know, Charlotte's Web or whoever the fuck wrote this, these two people, may their names be forgotten by history. They got that new Star Wars movie, is what I heard. And so they decided to just rush the last season of Game of Thrones so they could start working on that Star Wars movie. And let me tell you, I am pissed, I am peeved, I am muffed, which is not correct usage of that. And I'm just generally upset at them. And I think I told you this last week, Morgan, in an unrecorded phone call. I'm literally, if I see their names attached to a project, I don't think I want to support them anymore. I think it's so rude that they fucked us on this last season of Game of Thrones after everything I've done for them. I mean, really?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because I think what they did. Okay, so aside from, I agree with you. I think that they personally decided to rush the last two seasons, and nobody asked for that. Nobody made that happen. They did that by their own personal choice, and I think that's the biggest regret and downfall from all viewers is like we don't disagree with the outcomes. We disagree with the pacing that the information was revealed because it felt wrong. It felt wrong, but I think that they did a great job in general with Game of Thrones because I think it's such an undertaking to take on an epic fantasy. And for the most part, they did a really great job, which is why we're so disappointed with the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel, well, you know what? It's still raw for me, honestly. I mean, I know I'm not alone in this, but I think that was one of the most disappointing finale seasons of any show I've ever watched. I mean, pretty much from beginning to end, I was disappointed by the season. So at this point, I don't even want to give them any credit at all because I'm like legit mad at them. It's like personal.
I think Tyrion said something wise that maybe will resonate with you about that in the final episode where Jon Snow said, "Do you think I did the right thing?" And Tyrion said, "Ask me again in 10 years." Because it is still so raw and so fresh, and like a lot of the commentary around the series finale has been largely negative. And I think there are a lot of positive assets in the final season, even in the final two seasons, that are just really, really overshadowed by the negative things. And I think we'll get in more into those things when we kind of delve into different sections of our feelings.
Absolutely. You're right. There were some things that I like. Are we doing positive stuff now, or are we going to wait and do that when we delve?
I think we could do positive stuff. We could either do positive stuff or we could dive into character arcs and interweave. If you like.
Let's dive into character arcs because I have a lot to say about that shit.
Awesome. Do you have a positive character arc you would like to start with?
Yes, I do. So I thought, I mean, now you know I love Theon. He's my favorite. He's been my favorite for a long minute. Yes, I love old Alfie Allen. I think he is
Mm-hmm.
sexy as hell. And I thought that Theon's story narratively really was quite it was complete, and it was also fun to watch. Like, I enjoyed seeing him be a villain and seeing him be wretched and pathetic, and then at the end, dying to protect Bran, the three-eyed raven. I thought that he was quite heroic, and I wish he hadn't died, but I think it made sense for his arc that he did. I thought that was a successful one.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think Theon had a really good comeback, especially um, turning it back up the last 2 seasons. His relationship with Sophie Turner playing Sansa Stark.
Mm-hmm.
Something is going.
Uh-oh, you hear a beep beep?
Just a little beep beep.
Well, okay, I'm just going to be straight up with everybody. I'm not even going to try front. I'm in Arkansas these days, and I just found a tick in my car, and so I had to open the door. Yeah. I was going to try to, not let people know how disgusting I've become, but honestly, I'm just a filth beast, and that is what it is.
He's living that rural life right now.
Yeah, I don't have the ticks under control yet, but but yeah, okay. So I thought Theon's arc was really good. What did you
Beautiful.
think about Sansa's arc? Sansa's arc, because I know you're a big fan.
Oh man, do you remember? I can vividly remember several years ago sitting on your apartment back porch and us bickering about something, and you being like, you know what, girl, you being a real Sansa right now, and that being like a jab, like a ruthless jab at being a basic ass bitch who has no good goals in life and is kind of just a little hissy brat. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think she turned that around. I think the pacing for her turnaround, they nailed it. Like, I don't think any of it happened so suddenly. I think it was subtle in the best ways. And we watched Sophie Turner grow up, but we also watched Sansa become a fucking leader. She is a boss bitch.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I wonder if it's a coincidence that both Sansa and Theon spent time with the worst of the worst, with what's that bastard's name?
Ramsay Bolton.
Yes. I mean, because that was such a low low. You know what I mean? It's like it really did kind of reshape them both because it was so horrible and they went through such wretched abuse. I don't know, maybe that gave their characters enough of I don't know, enough of a reason to change, or enough of almost like, when you hit rock bottom, then you have something to kick off of. And so then you can rise
Totally.
back up,
I think definitely that played a big role. And then I think another huge factor in Sansa's role was Littlefinger. And
Yes.
she said before she killed him, she said, "I thank you for your many lessons. I will never forget them." And ultimately they were his undoing because he helped craft her into this witty strategic person who was, in the end 1 or 2 steps ahead of him, which he did not anticipate. But she had to suffer through his manipulation, and she rose above it, and she learned from it.
Absolutely.
And Littlefinger is you know how I feel about Littlefinger.
Uh-huh.
But she had such exposure to this awful person who was very good at playing the games. Very good.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Well, okay, let me ask you this, because I'm not sure if this is a positive or a negative arc, but what did you think of Brienne's character arc? Because we saw a lot of change with her, and we saw her sort of learn from people who knew a lot, and also, hit some pretty wretched lows.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's not the final scene we saw her in, but the final scene she was really important in. She was just sobbing for a man who didn't stay with her. And I thought that was an example of a misfire, but I could see someone saying that was actually a great arc for her. I'm curious what you think.
Sure. I've heard a lot of the backlash, and I've really thought about it because a lot of people have come at some of the things that happen in the end of Game of Thrones and throughout, I guess, with that feminist eye that say this is out of place or this is wrong for this reason. But in the case of Brienne, I have to respectfully disagree. I think that Brienne had one of the most beautiful arcs, and I think the the highlight of her arc was being knighted. And I think that moment with Jamie is iconic, beautiful. I cried. I could watch that moment over and over again. I thought she did such a great job. And then I think after that, a personal highlight for her was like losing her virginity to a person that she loved and that she lusted for. Like she wanted to be with Jamie. And so she finally got to have him and it was great. And then in the end, I think she was crying because not just because he left her, but because she watched him change as a person. And there's this like theme throughout Game of Thrones that's like either love is the death of duty or duty is the death of love. And for Jon Snow, duty ended up being the death of love for him. But for Jaime, love was the death of his duty because he was trying to do his duty to the realm. But in the end, when it really came down to it, and he said this before, you can't choose who you love. And he loved Cersei and he had to go back to her. And I think she was mourning not only the loss of him, but the loss of like his duty. And I think that's why when she wrote down his story in the book at the end, she didn't be catty. You know, she wrote that he died for his queen because that's for him, that was the fulfillment of his life, that he got to do that. So I personally think it was beautiful, but I do see where the haters are coming from.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I think you actually convinced me. Sad to say, I'd almost forgotten about her being knighted, but you're right. That is an amazing scene. And that really is the end of her arc. Maybe the love arc. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's part of her arc as well, you know, her whole character arc, but really the most important part of it was her being a knight. That's what she fought for more than anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And equality, like not just being a knight, but like she fought for like equality as a woman to be like, we are equal. I should be able to serve on like the Kingsguard and all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, she hunches with the best of them. You know, I've always said, if you want somebody to hunch, you call them Brianna Tarth, honey. She'll hunch all over your land.
I love it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. I mean, did you then feel that Jaime Lannister's arc was equally as satisfying, or did you at least think it was earned then?
I think that's a really good question. And I think that's another thing of like, ask me in 10 years, because when it happened immediately, I felt mad. I felt mad that he turned back to Cersei. Like, of course, there were many fan theories floating around about what Jaime would do and like how Cersei would meet her demise. But when I like reflect back on it, ultimately, I think it does make sense. And like he had a quote like really early on, like season 1, he was hanging out with Tyrion and they were talking about how they wanted to die. And Jaime said, I want to die in the arms of the woman I love. And I think that in a very real way, he was able to fulfill that. Like that was the last thing he ever was able to do. And I fucking hate Cersei. And I wish that she didn't get everything she wanted when she never, ever fucking deserved it. But you don't get to choose who you love. And he fucking loved her.
Yeah. Even though she was, man, talk about a wasted character this season. I know we're going to get negative later, but shit. I mean,
Lena Headey taking home $1 million every episode for drinking wine. Exactly.
Doing almost, I mean, I'm happy she gets paid, but damn, I wish they had done something more, because she had a cool character, okay? I mean, she was hateable, obviously, but like, she was smart, and she was crafty, and she was also vulnerable. We never even found out she was really pregnant, right? Like, we don't even really know.
No, we don't know. There's so many things we don't know. So many things. Yeah, I agree. Crazy at the lack of Cersei. And also because I think we can talk more about who we think are best actors maybe down the line of this episode, but I think everyone who's a Lannister is like probably in the top 5 of like best actors in the show. And I think Lena Headey does an incredible job playing Cersei as a villain. Like so hateable, so great.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel sad though. That was one of the character arcs that I felt like was the most jagged and made the least, and just wasn't satisfying. Seeing her get crushed, whether or not she was in Jaime's arms when she got crushed, it just wasn't man, it just did not fucking do it for me. Perhaps
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
really the only true scene she had the entire season, I mean, really, well, she did edge past the mountain and the hound. That was pretty damn funny.
Hilarious. Oh my God. Watching Kyburn get his face smashed in, I literally laughed out loud.
Epic, girl. That the mountain fucking killed Kyburn the way I just threw that tick out this van. I mean, really. He said blink. It was nothing.
Savage. I
Yeah.
love
And then
it.
Lena Headey just said, "Ooh, I'm just gonna. Oh, who is that over there? I'm."
She's like, somebody's calling me down here.
But
So many
besides
good things.
that, I mean, she had that moment on top of the gates where what's her face was killed,
Miss
Missandei.
Sandy,
Miss
yeah.
Andy, yeah, where she had her throat slit. But besides, that was like her only real scene, correct? Really? I guess she had a
Yeah.
couple with Creeper Pirate Man, who was horrible.
I think the height of Cersei is probably around the time she blew up the Sept of Baelor. And that was like a couple
Yes.
seasons ago. That was like she had already gone through the shame, and had all of her hair cut off, and then she was like, I'm a bad bitch, I'm not standing for it, I murder everyone. I
Mm.
think that was the height of her villainy, and also like the height of her character development. And then everything after that, like a lot of things were either weak or like ruthless, but like not really well thought out. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
it didn't get better than that moment. Like she didn't have the opportunity.
Well, it's just occurred to me. Speaking of her arc, though, I mean, we have two women who essentially we've watched go mad, right? Because Dany also went mad. And it's interesting how, even though they are such different women, I would say Dany was good pretty much the entire show until the end, whereas Cersei was evil the entire time. But in the end, they made very similar kinds of decisions. You know what I mean? They were very uh, ruthless, but not smart decisions overall. Not politically advantageous decisions, seemingly. And I don't know, there might be something interesting there. It might make me appreciate Cersei's arc more if I think about it right beside Dany's, because they're kind of similar in a lot of ways. And I don't know, I haven't fully thought that through. It's just occurring to me, but
Yeah, it's really interesting. And it's also really interesting because their contention was like one of the biggest conflicts, obviously, besides the Night King of the season. Like everything was building up to like their confrontation, but I think they both took a back seat the final season. You know what I mean? There was like so
sure.
much other stuff going on around them, and they both ended up looking weak and obviously having downfalls of different sorts. But yeah, they do have a lot of similarities.
I don't know. Well, and you know what's upsetting about that is you're right. They both took back seats, but no one really got in the front seat. It was like fucking musical chairs in the front seat, and
Insane.
they were all backseat drivers. Who is driving this car? That's my question.
I
I
would
couldn't tell.
I would say that to me, if I had to pick the two drivers of the final season, I think it was Sansa and Arya. Like I think their arcs, they came out on top, and their arcs were really driving forces for what ended up happening as like the finale. You know what I mean?
Well, I do. I feel you on that to an extent, though, because I think imagine if Arya hadn't killed the Night King. That was essentially all she did the entire season. And because she did kill the Night King, she became a driving force. But if she hadn't, she literally would have done nothing except run from zombies and like play video games in like the Library of Winterfell or something, you know?
She did a lot of things on the periphery though, because like so Jon Snow is like the everyman or whatever, like he is the hero of the story.
Mhm.
And Jon based almost all of his decisions this season on how they affected Sansa and Arya. Like he ended up putting his Stark family ahead of everything, and that's how Tyrion got him at the end. Like at first Tyrion was like, you got to do something, and Jon was like, oh, she's my queen, I love her. And then Tyrion was like, he was like, I'm not the last person she's gonna kill, and how do you think your sister's gonna feel about this queen. Like, that's not her queen, you know, like talking about
Mm-hmm.
Sansa. And then John
Mm-hmm.
was like, cool, I'll just go stab her real fast then. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
no biggie.
he put their interests at the forefront of like the driving factors, I think.
Interesting. That's a great point, Morgie. You're right about that. You're 100% right about that. Well, you might be right. Okay,
Okay,
you
I'm
know
gonna
what?
clip that
You know
out.
what? Yeah, right. That doesn't happen that often, girl. But no, you convinced me. That's totally true. Especially because, look, I'm looking through this list of characters. Honey, didn't nobody else do any kind of nothing? I mean, Varys, turns out he wasn't a merman, girl.
Girl, biggest disappointment of the season.
I, well, actually, he could have been a merman. He just
He
never got a
probably
chance to show it
was.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on the cutting room floor.
Yeah, we can take that to the grave because no one
Okay.
will ever know,
Because he was passing messages. How was he passing them? How was he talking to his friends in Doran? He swam there, okay?
Girl, he swam real fast. All Jorah Mormont did was die, right? I mean,
Oh, but I thought beautifully. What a good end for Jorah. I was into it.
well, and yeah, you're right. It was fine. And without it, I don't know if Dany would have gone as crazy as she went.
No.
So,
No, she needed her friends to be dead.
yeah, so he was important in that way. Grey Worm fucking sucked. I mean,
So weird. Such a strange transition.
I hated what they did with his character. I hated the fact that he didn't kill Jon Snow. I feel like that would have been in character for him to kill Jon Snow when he realized that Jon Snow killed Dany. Like, I don't. I thought that was a huge wormhole. Wormhole? No, hole. Worm. Is that the phrase? Wormhole?
I know what you're trying to say, but you've ripped it from my brain.
Because I said 14 wrong things. Well, whatever. That was a huge hole in his character arc. And like he was
Loophole.
so
No.
loophole. Yes, no, that's it. Yeah, that's good. Well, no, that doesn't really work either. It doesn't
No.
matter. See, we need alcohol. I need alcohol.
We're not good at vocabulary.
No, evidently not. But you know what? He was so bloodthirsty. You know, during the siege, you know, he was killing all the soldiers, and after they killed his girl, he was just killing people left and right. He wasn't upset about it. And then all of a sudden, he's not gonna kill Jon Snow. He almost killed Jon Snow in the street, you know, or tried to. So, and then they were just there. And then Tyrion was his prisoner, but then he let Tyrion call the shots. And then he said, you know what I mean? Like, he held the city, but he was like, oh, okay, I'll let these kings and queens tell me what to do. I guess because he's used to being told what to do. I don't know.
There was a lot of weird shit. Yeah, it was
shitty.
Not done well.
And all Tormund did was drink giant's milk and make me laugh a few times. I mean, he was also truly useless, I thought.
Interesting. Okay, so character arcs we covered, some good ones. Who was the last person we were talking about? Arya?
Yeah. We were talking about Arya, yeah.
Do you want to talk about Tyrion?
Sure, I guess if we have to. He's one of the most disappointing, but he has a lot of screen time, so we might as well.
The most screen time of any actor in Game of Thrones.
Absolutely. Which is, I mean, as far as Peter Dinklage goes, very much like, yes, give him all the screen time. Let him just pretend to be every character, you know, make it a one-man improv show. Here was my thing with Tyrion that was so upsetting to me is his character was built on wit and like intelligence. That's like who he was. That was his pretty much, besides gold, I suppose, that was his survival mechanism. And he was not smart these last two seasons. Like,
made a lot of mistakes.
Like, what can you pull out of your brain one
time
where he said something that wasn't a mistake?
Genuinely. There were a couple of times where Dany was like, I want to burn this person. And he was like, I don't think you should. And then she did it anyways. And I think he might have been right about those things.
Okay, I'll give you that. Mercy. He really was, he was trying to pull Dany to the side of Mercy a lot, which is, I mean, he was right, but it wasn't like craftsy or smart. He was just like baldly begging her not to murder people,
But
which,
yeah, otherwise he made a lot of mistakes. And she rightfully was mad at him a lot and was like, you're either a traitor or you're an idiot because like he was
yeah,
not doing his job effectively.
yeah.
Also, your girl Danny catching a lot of flack for burning Varys. He was actively committing treason and trying to poison her. Any leader would have killed that person. Any
Yes,
leader.
yes. And let's touch on the poisoning thing, because I think a lot of people miss that, actually. But I agree with you. He was trying to poison her.
Yeah, he had that little kitchen girl, and she was like, my lord, he won't eat. And he was like, we'll try at dinner.
Yes, exactly. And some people, I think, didn't realize. They were like, oh, he's just trying to get her to eat. No, girl. He was actively trying to kill her
Active.
because he correctly, guessed that she was going to go insane and become a tyrant just like her dad. I mean,
He wasn't wrong, but also the thing about Varys is like, he has a lot of nuance and like there's a lot of backstory and he does a lot in the shadows. But shit, if there ever wasn't a girl who was more flippy floppy and less loyal than any person in the realm. Like one
yeah.
minute he's like, you're my queen, and then he's like, change my mind, this bitch my queen now.
Yeah, he served pretty much every tyrant in the show, I think, at some point. But you
Place.
know what? I put his death at Tyrion's feet, because Tyrion's the one who fucking told him. And
He
Tyrion,
did.
he knows Varys. He knows that Varys is going to try to get all sneaky and snacky. He knows better, you know?
And you know why he did it. Subtly, I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. Very subtly, Tyrion revealed when he was went to visit Jon in prison, or maybe Jon came to visit him in prison that like last episode, and Tyrion said, "I know you love her. I do too. Not as successfully as you do." But like they just glossed over that, and like Tyrion basically admits that like he loves Dany, and like every action he has done since he met her is tainted by this like secret love that he had for her, which explains like a lot of things, and I think explains why he turned Varys in, because he loved her and Varys was trying to kill her.
Well, and yeah, I'm glad you brought that moment up too, because that should have been a powerful moment.
Should have
And
been.
it wasn't. It is completely forgettable. I had literally forgotten that as well before you brought it up. But that goes back to when they were on the boat and Jon and Dany had sex for the first time, and we saw Jon Snow's butt. Really, it's all about the butt.
I remember.
Yeah, you remember that? We saw it was bouncing.
Yeah.
Ooh, Kit Harington. Okay. And he has that significant look when he sees Jon, and the internet was a Twitter about it, because a lot of people were like, oh, he obviously loves her. And then a lot of other people were like, no, he just thinks it's a bad idea. I kind of think it's a cop out to make him love her, though. I think it's like, I mean, it fits fine. It fits because she's easy to love and he loves a lot of people. He's got a very large heart. But like, I don't know. It just makes it so, okay, so love is the reason. Great. So like, that thing that we've written 1,000 stories about and has been done over and over and over it's just such a cop-out reason for him to do what he did. And what I meant is less him turning, by the way, as far as Varys' death goes, less him turning Varys in, because I agree with you. He really didn't have a choice, really, because he was loyal to Dany. He shouldn't have told Varys in the first place, I think. He should not have to, because he knows that man. And he knows that man is not going to support Dany. Or I think he should have known. He should have known.
Man. The tales of Jon's parentage spreading after Sansa's like, I got a secret. The memes of that online, like Ned Stark keeps deepest, darkest secret for 30 years, takes it to his grave. Sansa Stark learns it 3 seconds later, puts it on Twitter. Like,
yeah, exactly.
She was like, there are no secrets. I tell everyone.
Well, I mean, she knew what she was doing, and that shit sure did work eventually. I mean,
she's a strategic thinker. Your girl Sansa, she ain't no basic bitch.
No, she's not. And she's also, not only is she strategic, which she learned from Littlefinger, but she's also decisive. Like, in the very last episode, when everyone else was pledging loyalty, she said, hold up a minute. I pledge loyalty to nobody. And then I felt like all the leaders were like, oh shit, are we even allowed to do that? I didn't know we could say that.
They were like, we missed our moment.
Yeah, exactly. But Sansa took it because she's strong and she's courageous as well. Yeah.
She's a good leader. She has the makings of a good leader. She does a great job.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But Tyrion,
Tyrion.
besides like the ending and like I think Tyrion was handed up just a giant turd this final season, but I think Peter Dinklage did the most he could with like the words that were written for him, especially that final episode. That final episode, they just wrote him straight garbage, like his speech at the Dragon Pit and all that.
Yeah, it was horrible.
It was awful, and he was like, he took that turd and he polished it up as much as he possibly could, and I think that he did a good job with what he was handed. Yeah. But I agree that it was a disappointing turn for him.
Yeah, well, and of course the phrase is you can't polish a turd. I mean, that's the thing. It's literally impossible, and you're right, he tried, and frankly I thought by the end of the series every single actor was amazing. I don't think anyone is really upset at the actors because they really did. They gave great performances, pretty much the house down, But yeah, man, you're right. That last speech that he gives, holy shit. Oh, and that, his very last scene at like the King's Council or whatever, that also was written like fucking fan fiction. I mean,
yes, there are so many problematic things with that last scene.
You could tell they were trying to be like real smart, right? Because they were trying to do a callback to seasons before. But that I also didn't like that. I didn't like that he just ended up the same place he was in like season 2 or something. I don't know.
Also, they were like, ooh, we don't have a master of whisperer. They don't need one. Bran can see the past, present, and future, everything all at once. Like, nobody understands who this person is. And meanwhile, he comes in and he's like, where's Drogon? It's like, shouldn't you know already? Yeah. What is your point?
I feel like it should have been like, girl. Go ahead.
Bran is named the king. That's his wild turn of events finale bullshit that happens. How long is Bran gonna live? Because Bloodraven, the three-eyed raven before him, that guy, he was like thousands of years old, or like at least hundreds of years old. Like, is Bran like the new fucking your brother who has like some weird bullshit disorder? Like, he's your king for 1,000 years? Like, that's what we signed up for?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's really like it's the age of Bran. You're right. I mean, I don't mind Bran being king. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but I think if they had written him,
I'm fine with the outcome, just not how we got there.
Yes. Well, I agree with you, and partially because they didn't write him in a way that makes him seem like he would be a good king, but his powers are powers that would seem to make a person a fantastic ruler. Because he isn't emotional, he has no real personal stake, and he sees and hears everything and knows everything. So, like, if anyone can make a paradise out of Westeros, I do think it would be him. So... And I think George R.R. Martin said that Bran also is king in the books, right? Isn't that one thing he said will be the same in the books?
I actually haven't read, but I do recall hearing that like a lot of the outcomes will be the same, but like some details will be different. So it feels like that's probably what happens.
Well, let me ask you that. I know this is kind of off topic, but I mean, do you feel any compunction to read the books now?
Oh, yes, girl. I'm a completionist, but also because I feel like there's so much left to be said, so much more story to be told, I'm very looking forward to reading the books.
See, we're two different kinds of fans because, girl, nope, I don't have time. I don't have interest. They've killed my last 2 brain cells with that season 8. I mean, I'm essentially a vegetable at this point. I'm covered in ticks. I've got nothing to live for. I mean, I am so uninterested in this series. And let me tell you another thing. I will not be watching these spinoffs. This House of Targaryen, well, I might eat my words. I mean, it's really good. I do want to give myself a loophole and a wormhole right here. You know what I mean? But the way I'm feeling right now, I absolutely don't want to see any of that shit. Even Arya, because I heard one of the spinoffs might be following Arya in like the New World or whatever.
Oh,
She's my
I heard
favorite.
them say that won't happen, or somebody
What?
speculated, and then I think that HBO came out and said no.
Oh, well, damn then. No, I'm like so done. I feel genuinely, I mean, I know I've already beat this dead dragon, but I feel personally attacked by this last season. I feel offended. I feel mistreated. I mean, I'm pissed, girl. I am pissed. And I know I'm not alone because the internet was aflame after that season ended. Well, after the show ended. People were pissed left, right, up, and down.
Yeah, you're right. People have all the feelings right now. I'll probably consider tuning in. I might not be like a diehard fan, but it might be something I like binge watch once a year, depending on how well it's received. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we have a couple more people whose arcs we should talk about. I think we'd be remiss to not touch on Danny and John's arcs, just because they're so central.
Okay.
Rolling that window down, BB.
Oh, how did you hear that too? Oh my
Yes,
God.
girl, I hear everything. I hear it all.
Oh my God. Girl can't even fart in peace these days.
Not with the
No.
microphone on.
Girl. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Did you
Um,
hear me? Did you know every time I took a drink of Diet Coke too? Could you tell?
I could not tell that.
Okay, good. Can you tell how many cigarettes I've smoked since we started this recording?
No, but I could hear
Ha
you
ha ha.
occasionally puffing a cigarette. But it's fine.
Okay.
Nobody cares.
Okay. Okay.
Let's talk about John first because I think it's a quick conversation. I think John had John had the biggest role probably to play in the show. He's considered the hero. Like they consider this John's story. And I think he had some really great moments. And I think that leading up to his parentage reveal, really big stuff. And then everything after that was sort of downhill and basic. Like he went in the direction that the everyman hero goes, except he made one slight difference where he killed the girl he loved in the end to save humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, well, I know a lot of fans have been extremely upset. They were turned off the minute he didn't kill the Night King. Do you think it would have made his story and his arc more persuasive or more enjoyable to watch if he had been the one to kill the Night King?
I think they built the story in such a way that like John should have been the one to kill him. Like that felt unresolved for him as a character and as a person, for sure. But I, as an Arya person and like I stand for what they did. I think it was good. I liked it. I love seeing Arya get her moment, and I felt like it was really powerful for that character. But I think that it left John with character blue balls. Like they built up so much of John and the Night King, and then nothing.
Yes. I 100,000% agree with that because, I loved Arya killing him, the Night King, that is. I thought it was fierce. I thought it was, I didn't see it coming. I mean, I screamed. But what if, instead of just her killing him all by himself, what if John had been fighting him right beforehand or something? You know what I mean? Like, he didn't even get to fight the Night King. He didn't even get to cross swords with him in that final battle. Because the one time he tried, old Night King just called up all his boo-boos and they all rose up out the ground and it was over.
Man, he always does that.
He always be calling his boo-boos, Or what if like Arya had stabbed him, but then the Night King's super powerful, so it hurt him but didn't kill him, and then Jon Snow sliced off his head and they like share the kill. You know what I mean? I think.
Yep.
Because I agree with you. I mean, I wasn't upset that she was the one to kill him, but then you're left wondering, like, what even is the point of Jon Snow? He seems to know nothing.
That's a good one. Yep. So basically,
Thanks.
that was Jon Snow's final season. He made some choices. Also, the last thing I'll say about Jon Snow, like what I think is, again, I don't disagree with the outcomes. I just disagree with how we got there. And I think that Jon going north to the Wall was the absolute right thing for him. But I wish that it had been his own choice. I wish that the crown the throne would have been presented to him again, and that he would have said, truly, no, I don't want it. I don't belong here. I relinquish that, and I choose to go north.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
the only thing that would have made it better.
That would have been much more powerful. Yeah. I will say, ooh, girl, when he walked through that gate though with all those wildlings and we saw that little bit of grass start to sprout in the north.
A dream
I
of spring.
Yes, exactly. I felt that. I thought that was and I agree with you. That's exactly where he belongs. I wouldn't have been happy with him anywhere else, honestly.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, here's the thing. George R. R. Martin, I assume, told them how the story ends. So I really
Right.
don't give the writers any credit for that. I mean, you know what I mean? I feel like everything that they had to do, which was write dialogue and like make it happen, in an interesting way, they fumbled in the last couple seasons. And yeah, the bones are still good, but we know George R. R. Martin's a great writer. And I hope no one's out there saying he's not a good writer because they're crazy. I mean, he's a great writer. I mean, that was all him, to my mind. But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with you, though. I agree with you about that for sure. I mean, should we talk about your girl? About your dragon queen?
Oh, Mother of Dragons, first of her
I know.
name, dead
I
as fuck.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, let's talk
Oh.
about Daenerys. Again, I don't disagree with the outcome, just how we got there. Never was there a downfall of a beloved, strong character that happened in such a short amount of time. It just was bewilderingly short. In the time that we went from, what was it, 4 episodes prior, she sacrificed all, or maybe 5. No, maybe like 2 episodes prior. She sacrificed every person, every supporter that she had, put them on the line for humanity. She went north to fight the army of the dead for the good of humanity when she had foes coming at her from every side, her crown on the line, everything she ever wanted. Like she has shown a lot of selflessness. Of course, she has a lot of other problematic things, but just 2 episodes prior, great selflessness to just like extreme tyranny and delusion was like, I mean, they tried to subtly build it up, but it was so fast. It was so unbelievably fast.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose we shouldn't belabor that point because that is what, everyone has resoundingly said, as the pacing of the final season was just horrible. But I know that, what's her name? The actress?
Amelia Clark.
Yes. I know that Amelia Clark has actually been pretty supportive of the show and like not in, some of the actors, when people are like, refilm season 8, this was horrible, they're like, yeah, girl, it was horrible. I agree with you. But Amelia Clark's been very like, that is, that's rude. Like, we worked really hard on this and all this stuff. I think she should feel personally attacked. I mean, they destroyed her character, and it wasn't the descent into madness. It wasn't that she showed herself to be the tyrant. She really always was. She was always a tyrant. She was just a benevolent tyrant. It
Yeah.
was the speed and the they made it feel very unbelievable to me. And I was ready to believe that. I love that because I think that's the way life is. You think someone is a hero and it turns out that they're actually the villain, or all the time we've been seeing it from the villain's point of view. And then a few life events happen. All of a sudden the point of view changes and you realize this person you've been rooting for was kind of a monster all along, really. Because it is true they laid the groundwork for that. They've been, she was kind, but she's been saying for ages she'll burn that shit to the ground, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was
Her
nobody's
motto
surprise.
was fire and blood, and she was like, bitch, did I stutter?
Exactly. It's like when people tell you who they are, believe them, and she's been telling us. But
Yeah.
man, I mean, it's that Bells episode, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
She,
Um,
mm,
I will always remember her fondly for the good that she did, like the good Dany moments and like the epic Dany moments. I will never forget, and I think that we're in a better place for having her as a character, even though the end of her reign was a descent into mad terror
yeah.
and delusion. She was very delusional at the end there.
Oh yeah. Oh, she completely lost it. I mean, she broke. Her mind broke. But that leads me to ask, like, okay, what was it that broke her? What was it? What's her name? Masandi? Why can't I say her name
Masandi.
correctly? Yeah. Okay, I said
Masandi.
it right. Okay. I think Masandi's death may have been the breaking point. I mean, that's the way filmed. That's what it seemed like to me. But what do you think? What was the straw?
I think that was she. So she lost Jorah. When she was in the North, she had to witness the love and support that the Starks got.
Mm-hmm.
Sansa didn't support her or trust her. Jon didn't come to her aid in that particular instance. You know what I mean? She was like, Sansa doesn't trust me, and I'm her queen. And Jon's like, I don't know what to tell you. She's a strong woman. So she was feeling very isolated, very alone, and then she lost Jorah, and then she lost her best friend, and then the very next thing that happens is one of her closest. Well, Tyrion has continually let her down, and then one of her closest advisors, Varys, is trying to sabotage her, and on top of all that, a few weeks ago, she found out that her maybe baby daddy is actually the heir to the throne and she is nothing. I think
Yeah.
it was like the culmination of all of that in a short amount of time, but mostly that she lost her support system. Like she lost her
Yeah.
friends and she had no one else. She was very
Yeah.
alone.
I
And
mean,
both
fuck.
two of her dragons too, right? She lost two of her
Yes,
children.
two of her children. Yeah. I mean, well, and let's not forget, I think really the most important thing of all is Masandi did her hair, girl. And everybody knows you don't want to switch up hairstylists. When your
It's
hairstylist
too
leaves town,
much.
it's traumatic. And not only did she have to watch her die, but damn girl, who's gonna do her braids? That's
I
my
think
question.
I think you should write a dissertation on this. I think that's the true answer here.
Joke's on you, Queen, because I just published that shit last week.
Oh, girl.
That's not true. I'm not published. It's sad. I'm a failure. Anyway, moving on. um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that dissolution of her support system should have started in season 7. For one thing, I think that would have helped or if season 8 had been, more than 6 episodes, that also maybe would have helped. Because when you put it that like those things did happen over time, right? They happened over a period of what, couple weeks in the world, 6 episodes in the show, pretty much.
Basically.
Um, yeah, pretty much. I guess her first dragon died last season, right? Season 7. End of season 7, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
But that was pretty recent. I mean, within the timeline of the show. So I don't know. I guess it makes sense. It just felt wrong, man. It just felt wrong. I don't know.
Very, very disappointing. But I
Yeah.
think we've talked about how Amelia Clark doesn't do a great job outside of Game of Thrones, but I think she did some pretty stellar acting this season. I think she had a couple of facial expressions like when Missandei died, like when she turned around, like she looked mad as shit. Like she
Hmm.
looked like she had gone off the deep end. And I think she had some really good moments as an actress.
I agree. I agree. I would still not put her, you know, she's amazing and I would love to meet her someday, but I would not put her in like the top cohort of actors in this show at all. But you're right. She played Madness pretty well. But you know what? It's very effective. Just take a little bit of purple paint and draw some bags under a person's eyes. And that takes them from sweet and fresh to wretched and crazy. I mean, it's a 2-second thing,
That's
really.
fair. That's fair.
So I do think makeup helped her quite a bit. But yeah. I'm not coming for her. I thought she was quite strong. She ended quite strong, and I thought it was that scene where John did stab her. I thought her delusion, her like return to almost like simple innocence in a way. I
Yeah.
thought it was very sad. I did find that very sad and very affecting.
Yeah. I personally liked the Drogon carrying her away thing. I think him burning the throne down was like, okay, girl, we're making a point here. But him sweetly picking her up with his one claw, I thought was really moving. Like, he
Yeah.
sensed death and it like really changed him.
Well, yes, I also don't. Again, though, kind of like with Grey Worm, I don't understand why Big Drogon Worm didn't kill Jon Snow either. I mean, either he either he's incredibly stupid or he's incredibly wise. And I think it's a problem that we don't know which. I mean, I suppose the writers could say that, like, oh, that was on purpose, but, like, why? Like, uh, tell me, is he
Well,
smart or is he stupid? I don't know.
so supposedly dragons are like the smartest creatures in the world, and like this mythos, like they are like extremely superior intelligent. And that's why they do things like have one writer that they're loyal to, or like they, they don't take a lot of direction because they just sense what needs to be done. But also in the film world, I think only Targaryens can ride a dragon. I don't know. There's like something about Targaryens and dragons, and they accentuate it in the film universe versus the book universe. And perhaps Drogon, knowing that Jon is the last Targaryen, didn't kill him because he feels like allegiance to that house or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I did think that actually makes quite a lot of sense. I thought it was pretty funny, though. A lot of people were like, he was like, oh no, mom's bleeding. She got poked. I'm going to burn down this pokey thing. It's like, that's like if Drogon's just stupid as shit. Or, on the other hand, it's like he saw that his mother and his queen and his everything was dead. And so he burned down the symbol of what actually killed her and what drove her mad. I mean,
That one.
yeah, I mean, that maybe, girl. I mean, who knows? That's like, I don't know. I just don't think it was obvious. And I think another episode or two would have helped to make things a bit more clear. Not everything in the world has to be spelled out for me. I mean, I'm fine to read between the lines. But frankly, though, Queen, we didn't see those dragons being all that smart. I mean, I can't think of too many instances. They didn't write me no poems. I didn't see them juggling no stones or nothing. I mean, when did they show any real intelligence
Oh, you
beyond?
missed the juggling episode. It was episode
Oh,
9.
oh shit! Episode 9 of 6. I did
Yeah,
miss that.
yeah. You
Damn
gotta go
it.
check it out.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, it's cool if in the mythos they're massively wise or whatever, but I see no evidence of that. That's like telling me Dumbledore's gay, girl. How, where? If
Show me.
it needs to sound like a duck and walk like a duck if you're going to tell me it's a duck. You know what I'm saying? I just think it's sloppy writing. I thought it was interesting symbolism, and I did think it was a touching scene. And I sure enough thought Jon Snow was going to die when old Drogon opened his mouth. I sure
Yep.
enough thought. But so I guess that was fine, because I was on the edge of my seat. But no, I'm mad about that too. We can just add that to the list of things I'm mad about.
I also like to think that so like then they cut scene, and then like it's however long later, and they're like, he's in prison, or I don't know. Yeah, like John's in prison. Um, and they were like, because he killed Danny. And I like to just think John just like immediately walked out of there, and he was like, hey guys, so I killed Danny. She's dead. Take me to prison. Because
Yeah.
what else would he do?
Well, yeah, okay, that is a fantastic point, which you're taking more humorously, but I'm mad about, which seems to be a theme right now. Look, why not show us that incredibly dramatic moment? Just like they didn't show us John telling his sisters that he's a
Yes.
Targaryen. Are you fucking kidding me? That is such a huge moment. How could you not film that? Because
Agreed.
they were cutting things for time. That's why.
Yeah. I somewhere there's like lots of great footage on the cutting room floor somewhere.
Hmm. Yeah, I want to see Grey Worm react to Jon Snow telling him that. You know what I mean? But maybe
Mhm.
that's why they couldn't include it, because it's so out of character at that point for Grey Worm not to just try to kill him.
Fair. Yeah.
That maybe they were like, girl, we can't make this work, so let's just cut to 2 weeks later or whatever. Let's muss up his hair a little bit. Mm.
Okay, so we have like obviously a lot of feelings about the individual instances and story arcs from this final season. Um, do you have a favorite episode if you were forced to pick one and say, I think this is the best episode of this season?
Yes, I do think. Let me pull up the episode list here. Actually, I don't need it. I mean, if I had to pick one, I would say the Winterfell battle episode.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, I did. I know a lot of people are like, "Girl, it's so dark, I can't see nothing." But I really didn't have any problems. I guess I have amazing eyes, and that's just another amazing thing about me. But I saw it just fine, and there were some things I didn't agree with, which we've covered. But overall, I was more or less on the edge of my seat, and I knew someone was going to die, or some people. I didn't know who, and that kept me interested. And I love seeing all the like power arrayed together and all the different armies. And I don't know. I mean, it could have been better. I would have loved to have seen Bran do some kind of witchy magic with the Night King instead of just giving him like a sup brah, which is what he did. Yeah. But
I
yeah,
feel
that was
like
my fave.
this aligns so well with like who we are coming from the Lord of the Rings, because you love the Two Towers.
Yes, I do.
You love that battle, Helm's Deep. You love it all. It's your thing. And I am a Fellowship girl. And my favorite episode of this season was episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which was the calm before the storm, which was kind of how the Lord of the Rings was laid out. Like the Fellowship, they have some adventure and stuff, but mostly it's like character pieces. And that's what that episode was. And I live for episode 2. That's one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
Wow. You know what? I mean, I will say that's my second favorite episode. I mean, a lot of really funny stuff happened and a lot of very powerful, emotionally affecting stuff happened. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I could see that. How did you feel about the Battle of Winterfell, though?
I liked it. I think there was a lot of really stunning visual things, and also like the action. And I thought that like we didn't lose enough people, but I felt like the deaths we got were pretty powerful, so I was happy with that. And I think. I think that it was good, but it wasn't one of my favorite battles of the whole series. But I think that it was well made, and I really liked, there was like after the episode, like on HBO, like if you keep watching after the credits, there's like a little thing from the people who made the show. And they broke that episode into like 3 genres, and it was like suspense, horror, and thriller. And so like the first section, suspense, was like the build up, like, oh, we can't see the whites, like everything's dark, like what's coming for us, we don't know. And then it gets there, and then everything's like a horror fest, and then Arya's like dodging through a library with all these zombies that want to eat her. And then the last like little stretch is just action, 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 like, are we gonna win, are we gonna lose, like the whole thriller piece. And I thought it was beautiful.
I loved that. I think maybe my favorite scene of that episode was when the Dothraki all ride into battle with their flaming swords, and then we see those swords go out one by one. I thought that was quite powerful and frightening. I was scared, you know. So yeah, I thought that was pretty great. I hated that Arya in the library. They reminded me of Frogger. That's what I was saying earlier.
Oh,
it was like,
I really like that.
I just was not into that. I don't know why. I just didn't do it for me. And then old Samwell laying on a pile of corpses, sobbing and stabbing. That also didn't really do it for me. But I'll give it to him. Oh, and I forgot about the death of the little bear. Oh my God.
Oh, Lyanna Mormont.
Yes. Oh, that was really powerful. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite episode. No doubt. No doubt.
Awesome. Well, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, do you think anyone is going to pick the last 2 episodes as their favorite episode? No, I don't think so either. I mean, besides the fact that they were a shit show, they were a shit show. Everything was a shit show. Like, what was that horse that Arya saw? Is that the one is that what the guy was on earlier? What does that horse mean? Why didn't she ride it out? What is happening? Where did her powers go? Oh, I'm furious. I'm furious.
So many loose strings like that, you know, they set up so many different things, and they gave themselves no time to wrap it up. Like, I mean, we could talk about this forever, but like everyone knows there's so many loose threads, including shit with Arya. It's crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, can you tell me what was with that horse though? I mean, I'm
I think
serious.
I read it was symbolic. Like there was like symbolism of like Arya emerging like filthy from this like pile of rubble and like literal ash, and then like finding this clean white horse, which is a symbol of like good and prosperity, and like getting on it and riding away to like try to fix the tragedy, which she didn't do. And then I also heard on a podcast that there's something in the Bible about a white mare, and that it might have been like a like symbolic of like whatever that bullshit was, but it's definitely
Oh.
some kind of symbolism that's either over or under our heads.
Well, Death rides a pale horse.
Oh, I
You
think
know,
that's it.
that, yeah. But girl, that's one of the four horsemen. Where are the other three horsemen? There's supposed to be a red horse, supposed to be a black horse, supposed to be a brown horse. Really?
She's gonna find them west of Westeros.
Well, I guess so. Oh, you mean where none of those powers matter because she's on a ship on the ocean? Oh, that's great. Awesome. Fantastic. What was the point? Ugh.
Also, like, couldn't Bran just tell her what's west of Westeros? Because again,
Girl.
what is his purpose?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. He's what's that term that they use in literature, especially fantasy, for the powerful object?
Omnipotent?
No, like I'm omnipotent. That just means I know everything. But no, well, I don't even know how to Google for it because I don't know what. But it's like a word that means like the ring in Lord of the Rings is this kind of object. It's like it gives you all the power, and it is what everyone's fighting for. And Bran is kind of that in a way. He could literally change everything, except he won't, in the way that omnipotent people never do because they can't, supposedly. I don't know. I'm so bitter. Bitterness
That's
is
fucking
what I
crazy.
have.
Okay, so we identified our favorite episodes of the final season. I was wondering if you had in your heart a favorite episode of the series.
Yes, I do. Now, this is not easy because though I'm all venom and anger about this last season, this was a great series earlier in the series. My favorite episode, funnily, is another battle. Is the Battle of the Bastards.
Mm-hmm.
I loved everything about that episode. I loved watching what's his name? The useless Stark.
Rickon.
Oh, little Rickon.
He didn't learn to run in zigzags.
No, girl. He did not know how to do it. I didn't love watching him die, but I was affected by that. I thought it was emotionally affecting. I loved watching the bodies pile up. I loved rooting kind of for and against the bastard because I thought he was so hot and so evil. And I love the giant, whatever his story was. I just thought it was amazing, and it kept me on the edge of my seat, and it was one of the most cinematic things I've ever seen on a TV show. For me, that was one of the major highlights of the entire series. What about you?
I totally agree. I think that one's definitely in my top 10, probably in my top 5. It was a beautiful episode, you're right. Filmed very uniquely. It was awesome. Yes. For me, I decided to pick a very iconic episode because I felt like it embodies Game of Thrones so fucking well. And then we also get a lot of other really powerful moments in this episode. I'm gonna pick maybe not my favorite, because sometimes I like to rewatch things and consider that my favorite, but I think one of the best ever episodes of Game of Thrones is season 3, episode 2, The Reigns of Castamere, aka The Red Wedding.
Yes, good choice, Queen.
What a fucking icon.
Do you remember how devastated people were who didn't know that was coming after? I feel like
people were broken.
They could not believe. Yes. And I'll tell you, it's a good thing I'm not the three-eyed raven, because I was laughing in people's faces. I had that foreknowledge, and I didn't tell them. I was just like Bran. I just sat back and watched. I didn't move a muscle. I watched them crumble, and then I laughed at them because it was funny. It was, so good. You know what, though? Now I'm with you. That's kind of similarly, that's one of my top 10 for sure. I wish, though, that they had done Catelyn Stark coming back. Lady Stone. What's her name? Lady Stone.
Stoneheart.
I wanted some Lady Stoneheart. That if they had brought her back, if we had seen her rise at the end of that episode, or maybe the next episode, that would have made it one of my tops for sure. But because they didn't do that, it was kind of heartbreaking for me. So I don't know.
So I've heard some other people commentate about Game of Thrones and say that while this is very much a fantasy show, like and then like a fantasy story, at times they not only forget that, but they choose to neglect more fantastical episodes of it in deference to like making other choices that are moving the story along, because they're not fantasy people at heart. You know what I mean? They have this like political drama at their heart, and there just happens to be dragons and magic and all this other stuff.
Mm. Well, I mean, that's fair, but if they're going to try to give that excuse as why they can't bring Lady Catelyn back, then I would say, how Jon Snow get up out the ground? Baby?
Ooh, girl.
I mean, really? I mean, if they don't want to be bringing people back to life, how'd old Beric What's his ass get up 42 times? I mean,
Yeah, this is really true, and also a really good transition to a top 5 list I made.
Oh, top 5 list. What you got?
So I put together what I think are the top 5 most iconic moments of the series, starting going chronologically. So number 1 most iconic moment of the series, I think, the beheading of Ned Stark.
100%, because that's when we were like, oh girl, this ain't like a normal TV show.
Yeah.
Like this is raw, and we do not know what to expect next. And throughout the whole series, people on Reddit, that's the trash can of the internet, but I'm addicted to it. People on Reddit were like, oh, blank and blank can't die. They have such plot armor. And every time I saw someone post that, I'd be like, girl, did you forget Ned Stark? He had all the plot armor. And that was the whole point, is there is no such thing as plot armor.
Not in Game of Thrones.
No, girl, I don't believe there ever was plot armor. And how could there be when Jon Snow didn't have no plot in the end? How?
Shade. I think the number 2 most iconic thing that happened in the series is the Red Wedding. I think goes
100%.
without saying, fucking iconic.
Heartbreaking, devastating. Mm-hmm.
And then I think the next 3rd most iconic thing that happened is Jon's resurrection. I think that people were shook. And by people, I mean me, because when the book content ended, I was as blind as everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just as blind.
Well, and you know what? Maybe that's why they didn't bring Catelyn back. So that would be a huge moment for Jon. Actually, that makes a fair amount of sense, because it was a shocking moment, right?
So shocking.
I guess we may have seen Beric come back.
We had.
Times.
Yeah.
We had that weird.
Ooh.
We've seen that weird. We knew it was possible, but oh no, you're cutting out a little bit. Wait, can you hear me now? Hello, Morgan?
I can mostly hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Are you moving or are you doing jumping jacks, Morgan? You're so fit.
I was doing squats, of course.
Oh no, I hope it wasn't too bad. Girl, I don't even know. Maybe a bat passed over the moon. Like, I have no idea what happened.
That's probably what happened. Yeah.
At all.
But I agree. Maybe not having Catelyn made. You there?
Hello.
Oh, it's kind of choppy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, not help. Oh no. I can hold my phone up to the top of the roof. That's all I can do.
Oh, hey, that fixed it. Maybe we can just drop it real quick. Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, I'm gonna put it in the visor. I'm sure I'm gonna break my phone this way, but it's worth it. Okay.
It's worth it. Okay. So Jon's resurrection, powerful, amazing. We loved it.
Yes.
I think the next most iconic thing that happened, coming in at number 4, is hold the door.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree. I think that because I did not see that coming, girl. I'm not going to lie. I did not guess it. I didn't have an inkling. I just thought that was a sweet, slow man. I didn't know.
We were shook.
Shooketh. Yes.
Shooketh.
And it was so heartbreaking. I mean, one of the most affecting moments of the entire show, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. A sure icon. And I think the number 5 most iconic thing that happened in the show was one that wasn't super unexpected, but I think when we finally got the confirmation, fans everywhere were like, finally. And I think that's Jon Snow's parentage reveal, which
Yeah.
happened in season 7, episode 7. And we had literally been building up to it since season 1, episode 1. So it took us almost 8 seasons to get like the confirmation and answer of who his parents are. And it was a driving force of the series.
Absolutely. And you're right that, yeah, it was a fan theory that people theorized and guessed early on and turned out to be true. But it's nice when that happens every now and then, right? Because it made sense.
Totally.
It needed to be. Can I give a couple of honorable mentions that just stick out to me?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think very iconic was the death of oh shit, I just forgot her name. The grandma who killed God, everyone's there. She killed that ugly little prince everybody hated.
Oh, Olenna Tyrell.
Yes, thank you. And even though I can remember no one's name, that doesn't mean it wasn't iconic, because she was iconic, I will say.
I love her. She was like, I want them to know.
Exactly. And she's like everything I want to be and will never be, because I'm much too emotional and like too much of a mess, you know? But like, she's my hero. She's my role model. All I want to do is be her. So I definitely say that was one for me. And, I had a good one.
Is it a dragon?
Oh, yeah. Yes, thank you. How did you know? You read my mind. When Dany, I mean, it's maybe a smaller moment, but when Dany first walks out of the fire with the dragons on her shoulder.
Incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many memes did that spawn? And how many times have we seen that still over and over, I thought that was very powerful as well, but definitely honorable mentions though.
I think another great honorable, like I have a bigger list, but I think another great honorable mention is the death of Viserion, her first dragon that died, because nobody knew that could happen. Like,
yeah, girl.
The people did not foresee that the dragons were impenetrable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because those were some big dragons. They're not the little dog dragons they had near the end in Westeros. Those were some new, strong, born in the East dragons. And I sure thought that all 3 were going to make it to the end. Now, I thought maybe they might die in the end, but not like, 3/4 of the way through, apropos of nothing, when the Night King makes a spear out of nowhere and all of a sudden has a spear and then gets a chain 2 seconds later. Where the hell that chain come from?
Girl, who carried it?
Yeah. How you gonna? That chain was not made of ice, my queen. Who made that chain?
I agree. Like the nuances of all of those things are like questionable, but I think Viserion opening his eyeball and it being ice blue was like very iconic. Super.
It was a game changer. You know what I think would have been more iconic? Because I agree with you, it's iconic. I'm not trying to take it down, but you had that theory, or you'd read that theory that there was a dragon in the wall. Do you remember that theory?
Yes.
Now look, seeing an ice dragon was great, but I think it would have been even better to get like a zombie ice dragon breaking out that wall. I really wish that had come to fruition, because that would have been so amazing, and it would have changed the game in a moment, even more so than Viserion becoming an ice dragon did,
In a lot of ways, George is in a great position because he's able to accept all this feedback and be like, we think this was bullshit, or like, here, this would have been better from like the internet hive mind. And like, he theoretically could craft the perfect ending to this story just based on like everyone's feedback.
Girl, you're right, but that's assuming he gets his ass out the pool and actually finishes the series, which, I mean, girl, but I'm sorry, but girl, you really think that's going to happen? That's part of the reason I'm over the whole damn thing, because I don't believe it. I've lost all hope. Hope is dead. Dany is dead. She's a tyrant. I'm a tyrant. George R. R. Martin's a tyrant. We're all horrible. Burn the world down. Global warming's real. Trump is president. And I found a tick on myself. It's over, girl.
When you put it that way, you're right.
Yeah, welcome to the Church of Despair. Can I get an amen?
Love it. I
Jeez.
love it. So after everything is said and done, would you recommend Game of Thrones to a brand new person who has never seen nor read it?
Oh. Um. Oh, that's really hard. Yes. Oh. Oh, would I? I mean, I'm so mad. Yes. I think though, what I would do is I would say, look, some stuff is going to get ruined for you. I'm going to tell you right now, the ending is disappointing. So just brace yourself for that. Enjoy the ride until then. Because I think if I could have gone into the series knowing that the end would be such a whimper and such a fail, then I could prepare myself for it and I could revel more in what ended up being the high moments that I thought were just a build up to the ultimate moment. But that ultimate moment never came. So I should have been enjoying the mini orgasms I had before that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So yeah, so yes, but I would spoil the ending to an extent. Not exactly what happened, but just spoil the quality of the ending. What about you though?
Interesting. Yeah, I hate spoilers. Personally, like I don't like to hear them. So I would recommend it to any people and I would just tell them that it is a journey and a commitment. And I would tell them that I think it's a good idea. Because I think all of the great moments, like there are so many iconic cinematic television moments that changed what TV could be. And it really brought fantasy onto the map for a lot of people in a way that other things had not. So I think that it's powerful enough to slag through the bad parts, even the ending.
Mm, mm. I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with you on that, but I certainly do respect your opinion. Yeah.
Thanks, babe.
Oh, you're welcome, of course. Do you have something to plug this week, Morgie?
I haven't had time to do anything. I would just like to plug that don't let people tell you you have to be a kind person because being a sarcastic person is better. So be yourself.
Being the kindest person I know, I don't know how I would take that, but um well, you know what? I also haven't really had much time for anything. I've been rereading Wise Man's Fear.
Ooh.
Yes, and it's even better the second time through. I have cried so many times. Anytime Quoth picks up his lyre and starts to
Oh.
play, I don't understand how or why, but it makes me sob, man. So I've
Yeah.
been getting my emotions out with that.
Oh,
Um,
it's a good one.
and I will to plug. This is just a tiny plug, but the next time you're making a purchase of something, girl, haggle. Haggle with those people. No, I'm totally serious because I know a lot of people who they will never negotiate. They'll never haggle. Look, I got $1,000 off my vehicle. I got $3,000 off of my land, and you know why? Because I didn't offer the full amount. I offered less. So the next time you're making a big purchase, think of me and my poor ass and how I saved $4,000 just by asking.
You should write a self-help book.
I should. It should be called you don't have that much money. Ask if they'll take less. No, I can do better than that. It should be you're broke. Why not just ask? That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Solid titles.
No, I don't think so. Those are season 8 Game of Thrones titles. Not well thought through.
Well.
Hmm.
Mm.
Let's see. Okay. Speaking of things that aren't well thought through. Oh, did I cut you off, Morgie?
No, not at all. I was drinking water.
Oh, okay. Speaking of things that are not well thought through, we are on pretty much every possible social media channel. We have a YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
We've got every single episode up there.
Okay, well, we are missing like maybe one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we're missing one. Game of Thrones season 8 missed like 99 out of 100. So, I don't feel that bad. Um, I'm feeling very shady. I'm fired up. I'm like angry right now. It made me angry. We're also on WordPress. We've got a WordPress blog, bandbcast.wordpress.com. We've got every single episode right there on that blog.
Yeah, so you guys can listen there if you want, or you can like and subscribe us at whatever podcast platform you are listening from right now. And if you want to rate and review us in there, that'd be great. 5 stars would be dope.
Don't give us 4 stars because the quality's horrible because a bat flew over the moon. Girl, we can't control bats.
We're trying our hardest. This is our first long distance call.
Yes, and it's hard. They said long distance relationships are difficult, and girl, it's true.
They were right. Yeah, turns out.
Oh yeah, and we're also on Facebook, so you can go like our little page on Facebook if that's something you wish to do. I'm not gonna lie to you, I have not gone to the Beauty and the Bitch Facebook page in a couple of weeks. Have you been there, Morgan?
I go there sometimes if there's like something worth sharing, but not frequently lately.
Okay. Well, Danny's probably gonna burn it down any second, so I say just
don't even worry about him.
Yeah. But we do both have banging Instagram accounts though that are
hell yeah. Hell yeah. You can find me on the gram at Morganized Mess. And you can find Mickey
at Parker_Homestead. That's where I do all my little homestead updates, and I post lots of beautiful pictures of babbling streams and ticks and deer and trees and girl, just everything. A lot of the color green, I've noticed.
So you can go to Mick for the nature, but come to me for the nurture.
That seems very fair. Yeah, because I ain't nurturing nobody, especially not in this mood I'm in right now.
Girl, fired up.
Fired
Well,
up.
thank you for joining us, BBs, on our first long-distance call. As always, we will improve upon our process, and we appreciate you sticking by us. We love you.
Yes, we love you. We love you just like Jon Snow loves Dany.
And Tyrion, apparently.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, it's a poisonous love either way.
Just like ours.
Yeah. All right, bye, babies.
Bye-bye. Bye, babies.
Do you have a home? Beauty and the Bitch.
You look